Fantasy football fans, if you haven't completed your draft for this season yet, there's something you need to be aware of. And it's been a long time coming. Year after year, it gets a little closer to it, but it's here. The end of the running back era. It's over. It's done. You no longer need to draft a top tier running back in the first round to be competitive. You can draft a running back beginning round 3 or 4 and be competitive because the NFL has changed the way running backs are used. In a PPR league like the one I run myself, running backs can still be valuable because you have certain running backs that are key targets for their quarterbacks on their respective franchises. But do you require those running backs to win? You don't. You really don't. The first few picks of the draft this year are going to be wide receivers in most drafts. I'm not talking about, say, 2 quarterback super draft kind of things. But for general standard drafts or PPR drafts or half PPR drafts, you're usually going to see wide receivers go first, and they should. Honestly, I would maybe argue against picking a running back in the first round unless it's maybe one of 2 or 3 running backs in the league. There's only a few running backs in the league that I have complete faith in, one of which is Christian McCaffrey. I'll always take Christian McCaffrey. I'm a huge Christian McCaffrey fan, and he is the number one target on that particular offense for the San Francisco 49ers. But outside of that, I can't see why you wouldn't just take a wide receiver and feel just as confident. Running backs are not being utilized correctly for fantasy. That's what it comes down to. They're being held back in certain situations. Definitely if a team feels like they've got enough of a lead. Used to be you'd lean on your running back to grind out the clock. That's not the case anymore. Now they're holding their number one running back and they're bringing in reserve running backs or the backup running back to do the grind work because they want to make sure that running back, their number one, is fresh for the next game, which limits their potential. You're having offenses throw a lot more. It's become a throw-first offense and high-scoring offenses. So you can't allow running backs to basically be your key component because if you fall behind too quickly in a game, the run game just gets forgotten. So you've got to look to wide receivers first. In some cases, depending on league scoring, you might even want to draft a quarterback before you go for a running back. That's how bad it's gotten for running backs in fantasy. Keep that in mind when you're doing your draft this season, and trust me, if you've got a choice between a top-tier wide receiver and a very good running back, always take the top-tier wide receiver. Draft the best player available. Doesn't have to be a running back. You don't need to force it anymore to win at fantasy football. Let me know what you think.